Hello and welcome to a very, very special bonus episode of the Great British Mickey Waffle. This is an extra show to round off our amazing month of Marvel that we've been talking about, both in the first of the month podcast. I think one of our Wednesday show has had some Marvel content, and certainly the live show a couple of Fridays ago. So this is an extra one. We don't do this often, but to be honest with you, we don't get an opportunity like this very often. In fact, this is a bit of a highlight for the Great British Mickey Waffle. Earlier this week, Ben, Becca and I had the most incredible opportunity to share a waffle with none other than Kate Herron. Kate is the director of the recently concluded season 1 of the Marvel Disney Plus series of Loki. And oh my goodness, how incredible was that, guys? I was blown away. Did you enjoy it?
It was amazing.
It was brilliant. Just so unexpected.
Much fun. And she was such a lovely lady.
I know. And I can't wait for everyone to hear the conversation that we had. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of chat. So maybe, should we do the interview now? Shall we show the interview now? And then we can have a chat afterwards.
Yeah, I think that sounds a good idea.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this, and we'll see you at the other end. We are so very excited to have the opportunity to share a waffle with Kate Herron, director of the recently concluded first season of the Marvel series Loki. Kate, thank you so much for joining us here at the Great British Mickey Waffle. We are overwhelmed that you found the time to chat to us.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me.
So we've got a few questions. We're going to take it in turns, so you're going to have to try and catch up with and keep up with what we're doing. So My first question is, what were your first thoughts when you read the script for Loki?
The Infinity Stones don't mean anything anymore. I was just like, what? Like, excuse me? I was very startled by that. I remember, and then I found it, I think it was an initial like, what? And then I found it very funny. I kind of settled into the idea and I was like, okay, cool. The TVA are really powerful then. But honestly, I think I was just excited by like kind of the idea of setting up this whole new corner of the MCU with the TVA. I was pleased. It was intriguing to me, like seeing Loki obviously go there, have almost like this therapy session with Mobius, and then in the second episode I love the rug pull that it's like, oh no, actually now he's working there, and that you think it's going to be like this buddy detective story, and then there's a pivot obviously at the end of the second episode. So yeah, I think I like the idea of the shifting tones and genres within it. And I thought the writing was really funny, and it's definitely something that connected with me because I have background in comedy, and it felt Hitchhiker's Guide in like the best possible way. And yeah, I just wanted to be part of it, and I love Loki, so yeah, I want to be part of telling his story.
I'm glad you had the same thought about the Infinity Stones, because we all thought, oh no, what's happening?
Yeah.
How are they in a desk drawer? What is that?
Yeah.
That's the past 10 years just wiped down the drain.
Blown away.
Exactly. Yeah. I was in shock. I remember being like, what? Like, going with my emotions. But yeah, I thought that was also a good sign of a good story, right? That it was definitely going to rug pull the audience in a lot of ways. So yeah, I thought that was cool.
Okay. Did you have a favourite scene to create in the series?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you know what? It's really tricky for me because like I love so much of it, right? Because like I love the second episode because that really inspired me, like Alyssa's script, in terms of how to approach the visuals, because it made me think of like film noir and detective stories. And I was like, oh, I want to shoot it like really shadowy, and obviously that carries across the whole show. But I really enjoyed filming in Roxcart. That was very fun. I'm trying to think now though, the other ones. Do you know what, actually hilariously I probably enjoyed filming Alioth in episode 5, only for egotistical reasons, is because I had this microphone and I'm usually quite a introverted person. Obviously to an extent, obviously I do my job and I can give instructions, but I'm generally quite quiet, and it definitely unleashed some kind of monster in me. Like I loved it because I was like shouting on the microphone because we had these big fans basically blaring when the actors were meant to be enchanting or when Richard's doing his magic, and I was like, you're building, and I remember that Tom and Sophia were like, oh, you really enjoyed that, didn't you? And they were just, because usually I'd be like, oh, could we possibly do this? And, you know, like very sort of polite British direction. And they were like, oh no, there's a monster within you. I felt like, I was in Truman Show or something on my little headset. But yeah, it definitely. So probably that scene, I guess.
Was there a particular scene that was challenging to perfect when shooting?
Oh, interestingly, probably the same scene, because everything in episode 5, right? We had this patch of grass that was smaller than like a football field, really. It was very small, and I had this kind of map chaotically drawn of where like I felt like Eliath is and where they are, and kind of just working that out. But I think that was tricky in that sense, just because it takes the most imagination, right, for the crew. Like, you can show them art and the amazing illustrations we have, but there's no monster there. There's like, you know, it's grass with some beautiful production design, and then the rest is in the world of visual effects. So I think that was probably one of the trickier ones for sure, just in terms of like execution in that sense.
So, given that you're a self-confessed Marvel fan, other than Loki, which character in the MCU would you like to be involved into bringing to the screen even?
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, I'm always that, because I think earlier on I was like, oh, I love Spider-Man, and there was these articles like Kate Herron's gonna do it, and I was like, oh god. So I think for me, honestly, like I love Marvel, and I would just always defer to Kevin Feige, because he's not my timekeeper, and if he feels there's a character that I'd be good to bring to life, then I would be very flattered. But Loki is genuinely like my favorite character, so that's, you know, I pursued this job so heavily, and I'm just so proud that I got to be part of, you know, telling his story. So yeah.
Have you always liked Loki? Sorry, I was just saying, is Loki always been like the number one MCU person for you? Is it OU character? Were you a comic book fan as well as a Marvel fan? And has that been a thread all the way through?
Yeah, I think for me, so I saw Thor, and then I started delving into the comics for his character, because I just didn't know much about Loki, and I thought Tom's performance was really interesting and really cool. And yeah, and that kind of sent me back, if you see what I mean, like to look at the comics and be like, oh, let's see all the different runs this character has had. So I think, yeah, that's kind of what drew me in. And like everyone, I've just really enjoyed watching sort of Kevin Feige build this world, right? And seeing how the MCU works. Because I think at the point, obviously, we hadn't seen cinema do that in that way. It's almost like a mega TV show, right? Where all the characters are interconnected, and it's almost like a giant puzzle. And I think that was really interesting to me, was just, yeah, experiencing that basically and seeing him build this massive world. So, yeah.
Well, it's well known that MCU fans are obsessive over the content and how they all sort of connect and interconnect in the multiverse. Is there something in it, or is it something that happens by coincidence?
Oh, what with the connections?
Yeah.
I think for me it's like fun, right? Like I love all the connections fans make, and I mean sometimes there's stuff in there that they like theorize about, and I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that, but that definitely holds water. So I think that's always really fun, you know. And yeah, and in terms of the multiverse of it all, I suppose it was just a big responsibility, and I just wanted to make sure we got it right. But it was definitely a big secret to sit on. But I think it was really fun for sure, like sprinkling sort of like the treasure hunt across the show of like, you know, anything from nods to the comics or, you know, nods of what's to come, I guess. But yeah, but we had a lot of fun for sure with that.
So for me, the female characters of Ramona Renslayer, B-15, and of course Sylvie were really strong, and I think you've described them as badass. Yeah, really drove the series forward within each of the episodes. How important was that to you when developing the season? When perhaps for the fan base, they were expecting the story to be really led by the familiar male Loki that we know and love?
Yeah, I would say like in terms of Loki, some of the biggest like that kind of stuff, like I would defer to the writers, just because obviously I was part of, you know, like when I joined, there was always the structure in place that, you know, Loki would go to the TVA, we'd think he was going to be like this kind of, you know, time cop, and then Sylvie arrives and it pivots and he ends up actually in something he doesn't realize yet, but will be a love story. So that was always kind of in the DNA of the show and the rough structure of the show. I would say like a character I definitely had a hand in was B-15. Like that character changed quite a bit from the page, just because when I pitched on it, it was originally written as a male character. And I remember just saying like, oh, I think it could be really interesting if this is a female character. And I was sort of referencing like like Cara Thrace and Battlestar Galactica and Ripley, you know, and Alien. Both those characters, obviously one was played by a man in the original version of that show, and one was obviously Ripley was originally written as a man. And I just thought, you know, there's a lot of badass women in sci-fi, and I just thought there was a richness to it. And I suppose also because she's like a boss, right, of her group, and obviously me being a female boss, I suppose, yeah, I just felt like there was something interesting to explore with that. So basically everyone was like, yeah, totally. So what we did was, when we did casting for that role, we just had open casting. So men still read for the role, but it was just kind of like, well, let's just see what different actors bring. And Woomi read for it, and the whole team, we were all blown away by her, and we just thought she was amazing. So we would kind of reshape that role around her. And definitely I'd say like her arc is something me and the writers definitely shifted and adapted across the show. But yeah, but I think for me, like, you know, it was just, for me, it always comes down to character. I just want to have compelling, good characters, you know, and I think obviously I want to make sure all the women are like well-rounded and like drive the story, but for equal, you know, Mobius is equally important, and we spent a lot of time on his character. So I think for me, it's just about good storytelling and good characters. But yeah, of course, I want to make sure that, you know, generally as a director, the stuff I'm drawn to is pretty balanced in terms of, you know what I mean, like how many men, how many women are in the show, and also just for the women in the show, like what kind of stories are they going on and what's their trajectory. So I think, yeah, obviously as a woman who creates stuff, I'm always looking at that with that lens. But yeah.
Thank you. And did you have, I'm going down the fandom route here, did you have a favourite Easter egg that you managed to sneak in?
Do you know what? I would actually say Throg, only because, so the Frog of Thunder basically had a scene in episode 1, and it was fun, but it was just so, it was very, very heightened. And we kept finding, like, as a standalone scene, it was like funny, but just in terms of our show, tonally, it just wasn't quite in that world. And it was right before Loki obviously saw his mother die, so it just wasn't quite working, unfortunately. So we were like, okay, well, and I wanted to try and get Throg somewhere. And basically I had this shot design in episode 5 where I knew I wanted to kind of, I think they do it in Futurama is why I got the idea, but they kind of go through the dirt down to reveal the lair. And I kind of in my head was like, oh, well, we'll put something cool in that shot. I don't know what it'll be, but something will be trapped in the dirt. And then obviously once I knew we weren't going to put that scene there, I was like, oh, well, let's put Throg in the dirt in a little jar, and we can have a comic book reference on the barcode. And yeah, so that's kind of, that was one of my favorite ones. And obviously the Thanos copter. I mean, that was just so fun. I just was so good to do that. Yeah.
I think everyone's enjoyed going through the shows and like picking out all the different things. It's been so exciting just to see the limitless number, and I'm sure I need to go back and rewatch it several times to see them all.
Was there anything particularly different to a Marvel show from other projects that you've worked on?
Oh, I mean, for me, like, you know, because I went from like making films in my family's house, my parents' house. It sounds like I have a family and I'm a bit more sophisticated than I am when I say that, but no, my parents' house. But or, you know, or just like I suppose like comedy dramas. You know, I'd worked on Sex Education, which was like a big job for me, and that was my first job other than 5x5 with Idris. Like, but I think for me, like, I knew I could do character, and I love comedy and drama, but I love genre, and getting to do Loki was massive for me because I as a writer, I'm always wanting to write like big sci-fi ideas and action and, you know, like just cool monster stuff, really. And I was like, oh, the show on everything. I get to do like a big monster. I get to do film noir. And like, I was like, it just ticks so many boxes for me and what I love as a filmmaker and also as an audience member. So yeah, so for me, it was a massive jump. And obviously, like, special effects wise, I hadn't done that many special effects before this, really, in the grander scheme of things. So yeah, so it was a massive learning opportunity for me. And also beyond just the learning, like getting to work with, you know, Marvel's visual effects team are like the best in the business. So you're like learning from the best, really.
Yeah, was it quite a technical show to actually be able to put the pieces together? I mean, I don't know how you do it, to be able to visualize what we're going to see when you're on set. That must be a quite a challenge.
Yeah, it definitely was technical. I think something that was really important to me when I pitched on it, and obviously going forward, was like, I didn't want to approach it and be like, oh, I haven't really done this before, but if we get someone on, like, they can help and I'll kind of just follow their lead. And I was like, no, I was like, I'll do as much training as I have to, but just throw me in the fire and I will just do as much prep I'm like a nerdy student, right? I was like that at school. So I was like, just tell me what I need to do and I'll learn about it, and I'll learn how to do it, and I'll hopefully do it well. So they were actually really amazing. So when I started the job, they did like kind of like a mini like VFX kind of school for me and they gave me loads of stuff just because I'd done like for example, one of my short films, I had like an action figure and I built a little paper room, and I did like, I guess, a very low budget animatic, but I'd never had like an animatic before. But working with the team, it kind of demystified the process for me. It's definitely technical, but I think I would just ask questions. The team were all really nice. And if I was like, I think for me, it was always just being very clear on what my intention was and what I was going for. And then being like, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking. And also working with a storyboard artist, because then I could be like, oh, I'm thinking like this kind of shot, and this is like what I think we should do here. And then I could use that almost as a way to translate to the visual effects team of like what we were going for. But I think beyond that, it's just being really open and collaborative, and good idea can come from anywhere, and just learning from that really, and learning from the people, because obviously everyone I was working with were brilliant, and they obviously knew a lot more than me. So I just really wanted to learn as much as I could so I can just keep working in this world really.
Brilliant. And you've already been quite open about the fact that you won't be returning for season 2. How do you feel about passing Loki over to somebody else? Are you feeling, is it like passing on your child, or are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's about trust, right? Like I trust Marvel and their judgment and their taste, and I'm just honestly very excited to see who will take over and where they're going to push it, because I think like because I threw everything at this job, like everything in my heart and my soul, and I'm so proud of it. But I'm just excited now to see someone come on and be like, okay, well, you think this is going to be season 2, but actually this is what we're going to do. And I think that for me is really exciting, because there's loads of franchise movies that I love, like I spoke about before, but like, Alien and Aliens, very different directors, but both incredible movies. And I feel like for me, that's what's exciting about going forward with Loki, is I feel like what tone, what genre is this new director going to bring to it really. So I'm obviously like, I love the project, and it's like, oh, let's see what happens. But I think I'm excited. I fully trust Kevin Feige and Marvel, and I'm just excited to see what they'll do with it.
Fantastic. 2 final questions for you. First of all, do you think we'll ever get to see Mobius on his jet ski?
It was so funny because like me and the writers, when season 1 obviously was on, we were just like texting, and we were like, man, people are gonna be so mad that he never gets on the jet ski, because it was so much stuff. There's so much on the internet. It's so funny. But there is I hope he does obviously get on it, but I would say there's an amazing cosplay image of these 2 cosplayers, and one of them's dressed as Mobius and one's dressed as Loki, and they're both on a jet ski together. So I'd say like,
brilliant.
Yeah, it's not exactly the show, but but it's pretty cool. So I'd say like that. Hopefully that will sate the want for the image.
And our final question: what's next for you, Kate? What are we going to see you doing now? Because obviously this is a massive springboard. Sex Education was amazing, by the way. But what's next?
So I'm writing quite a few projects at the moment, yet to be announced. One thing I can sort of talk about, I can't really talk about what it is exactly, but I wrote a comic book for Skybound recently. And I could probably say it's a horror comedy, and it comes out this year. But they haven't sort of announced that yet. So, but that's sort of as much as I could probably say. But it was really fun, like digging into a completely like new way of writing, because obviously I've written scripts before, but I've never written a comic book. So it was almost like writing like an interactive storyboard, and I wrote that with Bryony Redman, my writing partner. So yeah, and me and her are also working on some other projects together. So yeah, so no, I'm just excited to kind of see what the future holds. But yeah, but hopefully I can say what the future holds at some point, but I'm just not allowed to at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. We're really excited to see what comes next as well. So from all of us at the Great British Mickey Waffle, we are really grateful that you have had the time to talk to us. You're always welcome to come and have a chat with us about Marvel, Disney, anything you like. So thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to whatever is coming in the future.
Cool. Thanks so much. It's lovely to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So that was just amazing, wasn't it? I'm just blown away. A little bit fangirl, a little bit geeky.
Completely completely geeking out.
I want to go watch Loki all over again.
Yes.
I know. It was
I think I
such
might
an
go and do that
amazing.
after this, actually.
And
Yeah,
just
it's such an
seeing it
amazing
from a-
series anyway, wasn't it? It was just every episode was incredible, and then just to hear those things about how it was created and the some of the challenges actually of making something as incredible as that come to life.
I'm
Yeah.
just so glad Kate had the same thought of the Infinity Stones,
I know.
because it was like, okay, you've built up sort of so many films. Was it 21 films?
10
Yeah,
years worth
10,
of
years,
content.
10
10
years
years
of
just
Marvel.
like
10 years
gone.
of Marvel, just like, do you know what? We're just gonna put it in the bin.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
It
was then.
brilliant.
This is what's happening now.
And-
This is where we're going.
Yeah,
All
phase
new Marvel.
new phase. That means nothing, you know. It's and to
Well,
hear
where's
that
it-
actually, you know, that her first thoughts were the same as all of us in that first episode, where you go, "What is that about? Seriously?" And that was her first thought reading the script as well. So yeah, we're all in it together.
Oh yeah, she's just so talented in just putting everything together, and just from everything that she's done from other shows and bringing it into Loki, and just having that sort of comedic timing and humor just interjected throughout. It's amazing.
And I think the tenacity to be able to say that I've not done this special effects stuff to the, you know, to the Marvel level. No, I don't know many people that do that, to be honest with you, but it's a very niche market, and as she said, they're the best in the business. So to have the confidence to be able to go, just teach me, tell me what it is I need to do, and I'll do it. And have the tenacity and to step forward and put your neck out like that, that's incredible.
It's probably
would have
so
been
easy
easy.
to sort of, when you get sort of too far into it, that it's so easy to hand over to someone and say, maybe someone else could take on that because
Yeah,
more experience.
they might be
but-
better than me, but
But
actually,
then also you lose that
Yeah.
sort of
That
directing
drive
part
and
of it if you're always having to
understanding of
pass it on to
yourself.
someone else to.
totally. And I'm really interested to see where Loki goes next. And I'm in some ways I'm sad that she's not going to be directing season 2, but also that concept that because of the way Loki is constructed with the timeline and the opportunity to jump in and jump out of different areas and different times, and actually having a different director will complement that probably, I think. I think there'll be some continuum in terms of the characters and in terms of where we go next with He Who Remains and Sylvie and all of that stuff, and also Renslayer and where she's going to go, because she's off to do the next thing, and we're going to see more from her.
And
But actually
Mobius
to have a
hopefully getting his jet ski.
Yes.
That's
Well-
all what we
He
want.
has to get on
That's
his jet
all
ski.
what we want, isn't it?
I'm
Mobius
not
needs
sure
his
that's
jet
going to
ski.
happen. I'm not confident that, but
Depends how many seasons of this
And how many
they're planning
variants
on
of Mobius we
doing.
get.
'Cause
how
if-
much peer
if this
pressure
goes
there
for a
is.
while.
I think the peer pressure from the fan base is like massive. I think the end of final series of Loki will have them going off into the sunset on a jet ski, maybe. I think
I
it
like
should.
the 6 episodes of some of the most amazing telly this year, and what everybody wants to see out of it is Mobius on a jet ski.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it'd be interesting to know if Owen Wilson thinks that should happen too, because that
I
would
bet
be
he
that would
does.
be. Yeah.
I bet you'd jump at the chance.
I know. I just, I think also having watched the Loki Assembled show on Disney Plus, that was really interesting too. And I think seeing the background and the creation of the show from that angle too, and then talking to Kate as well, was, you know, the two things married up so well. And I think that, you know, I just feel so privileged to be able to have that conversation with her.
Yeah, and her talking about Goliath and sort
Yeah.
of how that was really good, and how into it, how different parts that she was involved in, and just how her description
Definitely.
from Assembled of the Void being a part of
Definitely.
was it
Yeah.
England?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
you
Just
created England. It's a bit grey, bit barren,
Yeah,
not much going on.
there are certainly parts.
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
that's true.
I just wish we'd had more time. I think we could have come up with 1,000 questions, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
still wanted more time. So
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
I love the series. I love, you know, Loki is a character that I think has so many dimensions that we're just starting to see, and I can't I can't fathom where it goes next and the concepts that are going to be created out of this. And the character, Sylvie's character, and also I want to see more of Miss Minutes as well.
See,
I think
how
she's a bit
bad
evil.
is she? Yeah,
She's
I think she's
not good.
yeah.
no, and I can't. I want to go back and watch all the other movies and see where the little nods to her are, because I think there has been some in the fan
a couple
chat.
of Easter eggs somewhere.
Yeah, and so this must all have been in Kevin Feige's head all the way through, which kind of blows my mind. How you hold all of that in your brain, and then all these strands. It must be in my head. It's a bit like a forensic map, in his. He's got a room somewhere with pictures and pieces of string, and
Lots and lots of notes.
Yeah, how do you keep track of everything? And as a director, how do you make sure that you don't make a mess of it and get something in the wrong place?
It's probably so easy if you do one thing. Yeah,
I would be petrified. So, that's a skill in itself.
It's all that pressure working, because Marvel has grown from just being Iron Man to being such a new category of film that I think that
it's a whole universe.
There's so much pressure on people that are working on other Disney series that are coming up. Or if we've got Hawkeye, What If?
I'm looking forward to all
She-Hulk.
of it.
Yeah, I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Secret Invasions. There's so much things that's going to lead, and I just love how they've gone from it just being in the films to being Disney Plus, and then going back to it.
And I think that's
between the two is going to be good.
And that's what I was going to say, Becca. That actually the two complement each other. Then they can coexist, or they can exist in isolation.
Yeah.
And then the connection and I'm doing the cyclical thing, because as we know, time is cyclical. We know that now. It's not linear. But it all connects to each other. And I think that, I know we've talked about Marvel before at the beginning of the month, and I said that the thing that really ticks my boxes is the fact that it's clever, and it makes me think, and it really makes me start to try and tease things apart and put it back together. And it's like that jigsaw puzzle effect of actually, well, how does that fit with this and that fit with that? And I think that is so intriguing. And
there's
I was
always that
never
missing piece. Then for the next film you go, there's that other piece that fits, but then there's something else that's missing that just has to fill in with something else.
And that's what I like about these TV shows. They're giving a more intimate look at the characters as well.
Definitely.
Which
and I think
helps fill in some of those puzzle pieces.
It's like Loki himself has only been sort of, I'd say, underused as a character, in that when you think of how little screen time he's had over those 10 years.
What was your favourite part of the series? We didn't touch on that with Kate, but what was your favourite scene maybe in the whole thing?
Ooh. I liked the bit when they enchanted Eliath. I thought that was just quite a nice sort of thing, and then the reveal of the mansion. Just thought, this is a great way, please don't end the episode there. And they did.
Oh, so many good moments. So many good moments. I liked the bit in the very first episode, actually, where Loki admits that he doesn't enjoy hurting people.
Yeah, that was kind of groundbreaking, wasn't it? It was that sort of break them down to build them up moment. And he's never admitted that.
Not even when he was further along in his emotional journey than this Loki is.
Mm-hmm. I guess the scene that really sticks in my head is in the bar when Loki is singing in Asgardian drunk. I love that scene. I just thought Tom Hiddleston was incredible, and Sylvie's reaction. So Sophia Di Martino, the way she played that. Becca, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation where you go out with your other half and they have a few too many drinks, and you're in the back of your head, you're going, just stop drinking and shut up because you're really doing my head in. And that was her approach. That was exactly what was written on her face. She was like, oh, please just stop. I'm so embarrassed and I just want you to be quiet. And that made me laugh so much. I connected with that. Her expressions, the unsaid body language at that moment was just perfect. I love that scene, but I also love the stuff on the Mentis. That was incredible. Just the physical acting part of that, and the way they constructed that scene.
I love
Yes.
the was it in the first episode where Loki and Mobius were sort of in watching sort of Loki's life.
Oh, in
And
the
just
time
playing-
theatre.
Yeah, and just sort of playing that forward, and it's like him seeing, it's like, wait, what happened when my mother died?
Yeah.
And it's just all that stuff that you wouldn't think that he'd be able to play
I know.
back and see. And
I get
then
that.
when you get
It's
right
funny
to the
because
end,
the bit that I think I probably should like more than I did is actually the final reveal of He Who Remains. I enjoyed it. We knew what was coming. We knew that it was going to be something different. All the connections to the Wizard of Oz that people had made, you know, the whole spectacle of the thing. I think Jonathan Majors was incredible, and the way he played Kang. Oh God, I hope I haven't spoiled that for anyone.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler
Jonathan
alert.
Majors is tipped to play Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
not tipped, he's been confirmed.
He's
I
confirmed.
can't believe that anyone who's watching this doesn't already know this or hasn't watched this.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
What we
if
need
you
to
haven't
do
watched
is probably
episodes.
put something at the beginning and say, spoiler
Spoiler
warning.
warning.
We'll put it in. Yeah, we'll put something in. Just, but I
Oh,
I
we'll
loved
just cut
how
that
he-
out.
I want to talk about it though.
We'll bring
Yeah,
it
no,
this
we'll
way.
cut it.
It's fine.
We'll
I'll add
cut
some
it
in
out.
the beginning.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed the way that Jonathan Majors played that character. The quirky, kind of throwaway. This is me, you know. You thought it was going to be a big bad boss, and actually, it's just me. I've got an apple, you know. That's how it is.
I just like how the apple made me think of Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Because of the way he was just sort of using time to change the way it was just brilliant. That
It was very clever.
Whether that's just a detail that I just picked up and gone, oh, that reminds me of that. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Did you or did you not, when you went into the room in the Citadel where he was, did you go, there's a hidden Mickey?
Yes.
Because
so
we
glad we
all
did.
did that. We all went, hidden Mickey!
Mickey.
And I don't know if that's intentional or not. And I wish I'd asked Kate because I completely
Yeah.
forgot about it until now. I don't
And
know.
then I thought that looks a bit like the windows in the in Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum.
Mhm.
Yes.
I know.
It's all the
I know.
multiverse.
And we had all sorts of conversations at home about, you know, when we saw the big manor house. Actually, it's, you know, who's in there? Is it something to do with X-Men, maybe? Because that kind of looks like Dr. X's
Yeah.
kind of house. And, you know,
Could
where
hap-
are we going
Could
with
have
this?
happened.
Could have happened. But, you know, I think it's kind of limitless where this goes next.
I
And
think
that's
we
so
learned from
exciting.
WandaVision that it's not always as it seems.
It's
You
never
mean to
as
tell me
it
that
seems.
it was Agatha all along?
It could have been. But the
Yes.
thing is, we all thought it was going to be Mephisto. We all
Yeah.
knew Agatha was in it. We all,
Yeah.
everyone, every YouTube channel we watched, it was always going to be, oh, it's Mephisto. It's fine. We know it's Mephisto. It's like, got to the end, it's not Mephisto. So
And that's the
what just
curveball,
keeps
isn't
you
it?
on the edge. It just,
Totally.
Yeah.
And the number of, you know, there's thousands and thousands of YouTube videos about, you know, breaking down minute by minute stuff and every episode of the season. And they're great. But sometimes it takes I just want to go back and watch it and enjoy it without looking for all the different things. But there's two sides to it, isn't there?
yeah.
It was
First
amazing.
watch is to enjoy, the second
we-
watch is to catch everything else.
To dissect.
You say that, we watch it all now with subtitles on because of
Oh yeah, we
WandaVision.
do. Yeah,
I blame WandaVision for that, though.
yeah,
You never know.
totally.
Although we forgot to do that in the episode with the Android timekeepers, and I still haven't gone back to watch that to work out what exactly.
Oh, to hear what they're saying, because it's quite hard,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
It
And
was.
interestingly,
Jonathan
Finding-
Majors did the voice.
he did all the voices for those.
Voices of them as well.
And the voice distorters were very, very effective. But yeah, incredible. Love the series.
That was just that
Amazing
shocking moment,
opportunity.
wasn't it? It really was that shocking
Yeah.
moment of like timekeepers. wait, this is the big bad that we thought we were going for, then it's like, oh no, it's not.
I know. And the moment that Loki gets pruned as well, that was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, because we didn't know at that point what pruning meant.
Exactly.
Where did you go?
I still want to know what Sylvie did to the timelines. In the end,
What, her original
No.
Nexus event?
Original.
Well,
I think we'll
that
find out.
as well as at the end of episode 2 in Roxcart, where
Yeah.
she did something and sent stuff everywhere. I want to know
Mhm.
what she did.
Yeah.
I think we'll find out one day.
Yep.
Her story's not done. I think it's barely started, is it?
That's true.
Very cool. I love the character. I love her character.
We could literally talk about this for hours.
I know. And this was meant to be a short, really cool special episode. So I'm kind of keen that we probably have come back to Loki with the rest of the team at some point. This is just us having a bit of a geek out. So Ben, Becca, thank you so much for joining me, chatting to Kate. That
Thank
was
you for inviting
amazing.
us.
Thank you. That was just brilliant. It just
You never
Can't
know.
believe it.
Maybe one day she'll come back and chat more Marvel with us because she's a fan.
Yeah.
That's like us.
Yeah. that's true.
And maybe one day we'll see Alligator Loki in a parade in a park. We can.
I
but
want a
hope.
plush.
I do too. So
I
yeah,
want an alligator Loki plush. Marvel,
if
you're
anyone
listening.
from Disney is listening, please, the Alligator Loki plush has got to happen.
I've seen a
just
few
think,
T-shirts on Shop Disney today. They've just gone on there.
yeah, and the ears. I've seen the Mickey ears
Yeah.
with the Loki horns, which are really cool. They need to do some with Sylvie's broken ones as well. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But the Alligator Loki plush has just got to happen. I'll probably buy about 5 of them.
One for each member of the household.
Right, even the dog can
Yeah.
have one. It's amazing. I think there's so many opportunities with that. But anyway, let's wrap it. Thank you so much. And for anyone who's listening to us for the first time, because this is kind of special, if you want to catch any more of our content, we talk about Disney, we talk about Marvel, we talk about anything to do with that entire world. Come and join us. The best way to do it is through our website at www.gbmickeywaffle.com. You can find us on socials at gbmickeywaffle on Twitter, Insta, Facebook, you name it, we're there. Come and connect with us. Tell us if you've enjoyed today's show, and find us on YouTube as well at Great British Mickey Waffle. That's right, isn't it,
The
Ben?
Great British Mickey. Yep, the Great British Mickey.
Great
Waffle.
British Mickey Waffle on YouTube. All of our content's on there. We do a new podcast on the first of every month. So on Sunday, there'll be yet more content from us.
We've been
So yeah,
busy.
come and have a listen if you fancy subscribing so you don't miss out of anything in the future. Thanks, guys, for joining us. And for all time,
Always.
Always.